I'm standing in my own company's lobby while security waits beside me, and my wife, now the CEO, won't even look up as she fires me 4 days after her father's funeral. The email came Tuesday morning. Subject line: meeting required. Cold, corporate. From an address I didn't recognize at first, until I saw it was hers. New title underneath: Chief Executive Officer, Lawson Manufacturing. The board had appointed her the day before. I'd been proud when I heard. Her father built this place from nothing, turned a garage operation into $40 million in annual revenue. Seemed right that it stayed in the family. Please report to the executive office at 2 p.m. today. Bring your building access card and company laptop. I showed up 5 minutes early. Her new assistant, some guy I'd never seen before, told me to wait. 20 minutes passed while I sat in reception, watching employees walk by, some nodding at me with confused expressions. Finally, he called me in. She sat behind Richard's desk, her father's desk, the one he'd worked at for 3 decades. She'd already redecorated. New curtains, different art on the walls. The photo of Richard with his first employee, the one he'd shown me a dozen times, telling stories about the early days, was gone. Replaced with some abstract painting that probably cost more than most people here made in a month. "Have a seat," she said without looking up from her computer. I sat, waited. She closed the laptop slowly, then looked at me like I was a stranger interviewing for a job I wouldn't get. "I'm restructuring the management team. Your position is being eliminated. Effective immediately." The words hung there. I just stared at her. "What?" "You'll receive 2 weeks severance. More than generous considering your performance issues." "Performance issues? What are you talking about?" She slid a folder across the desk. "This is your termination letter. Sign it." I picked it up, read through corporate language about restructuring and elimination of redundant positions. Nothing specific, nothing real. Just words designed to make this legal. "Security will escort you out," she added, like she was discussing the weather. I looked at her, really looked at her. This was the woman I'd been married to for 7 years. The woman whose father had treated me like the son he never had. The man who'd brought me into this company, taught me everything about manufacturing, operations, supply chain management. We had lunch every Tuesday, just the two of us. He'd ask my opinion on major decisions, trust my judgment on things that mattered. "I'm not signing this." She pressed a button on her desk phone. "Security, please come to the executive office." They appeared within 30 seconds. Too fast. They'd been waiting outside. "Mr. Harrison, please collect your belongings and vacate the premises." I stood slowly, looked at my wife one more time. She was already back on her computer, didn't even acknowledge me leaving. They walked me to my office, stood there while I packed 7 years into a cardboard box. Photos of company events, the coffee mug Richard gave me after we landed our first major automotive contract, some books on lean manufacturing I'd been reading. The security guards didn't say anything. They'd worked with me for years, knew this was wrong, but they had their orders. We walked through the main production floor, past people I'd hired, trained, worked alongside. Some looked away, embarrassed. Others stared, confused. I kept my head up, didn't say a word. They escorted me all the way to my car, watched me load the box into my trunk, made sure I left the parking lot. I drove home in silence. The whole thing felt surreal, like I'd wake up and it would have been some stress dream. But when I pulled into the driveway of the house I'd inherited from my mother 3 years ago, reality settled in. My wife had just fired me without explanation, treated me like a problem that needed removing, fast, quiet, clean. I sat in the car for a while. Then something surfaced in my memory. A conversation from 2 years ago. Richard had called me into his office, closed the door, handed me a large manila envelope, thick and sealed. "Put this somewhere safe," he'd said. "Don't open it unless something happens to me or if you need protection. You'll know when the time comes." I'd asked what it was. He just smiled that knowing smile of his. Insurance. For both of us. I'd taken it home, filed it away in the bottom drawer of my office filing cabinet behind tax returns and old mortgage documents. Never thought about it again. Until now. I got out of the car and went straight to my home office. Found the envelope exactly where I'd left it. Richard's handwriting on the front. For Nathan Harrison, open when necessary. I sat at my desk holding it. Part of me wanted to rip it open immediately. Another part hesitated. Whatever was inside would change things. I could feel that. Richard had been deliberate about everything he did. This envelope was deliberate. I thought about those Tuesday lunches. The way he'd pause sometimes, mid-conversation, studying my face like he was evaluating something beyond the business discussion. About 6 months before he died, we'd been talking about succession planning. He'd seemed distant that day, thoughtful in a way that felt heavier than usual. "You need protection and guarantees in this world," he'd said. "Can't rely on loyalty anymore, not even family." I'd thought he was speaking generally. Now I wasn't sure. I opened the envelope. Inside were 3 things: a stack of legal documents bound with clips, a USB drive, and a handwritten letter on Richard's personal stationery. I started with the letter. "Nathan, if you're reading this, I'm either gone or things have gone sideways. Probably both. I need you to understand what I've done and why. 7 years ago, when you married my daughter, I saw potential. Not just in you as a person, but in you as a leader. Someone who understood this business, who cared about the people, not just the profits. Someone who reminded me of myself 30 years ago. My daughter is brilliant at sales, charismatic. She can close any deal, but she doesn't understand operations. Doesn't care about building things that last. She wants results now, money now, status now. I've watched her my whole life. I love her, but I don't trust her with my legacy. So I created a fail-safe. A silent partnership structure that gives you controlling interest in Lawson Manufacturing. 65% ownership through a private holding company. All legal, all documented, all verified by the best corporate attorneys money can buy. The board doesn't know. My daughter doesn't know. The structure was designed to activate upon my death or upon your request to formalize it. You have complete authority to reveal this ownership at any time. I did this because I believe you'll protect what I built. You'll take care of the employees. You'll maintain the standards. You'll do what's right, not what's profitable in the short term. Use this wisely. Use this when you need it. And know that I'm counting on you, Richard. I read it 3 times. Each time, the words felt more impossible and more real simultaneously. I opened the legal documents, partnership agreements, corporate filings, share certificates, transfer documents. Everything signed, notarized, dated. The holding company was called Harrison Strategic Holdings, established 5 years ago. Richard had funded it initially, then transferred majority shares to me through a series of transactions disguised as consulting fees and performance bonuses. The USB drive contained digital copies of everything, plus encrypted financial records showing the complete paper trail. Nothing questionable, nothing that could be challenged. My phone buzzed. Text from my wife. You need to vacate the house by end of week. It's company property. I stared at the message. The house wasn't company property. She knew that. My mother had left it to me. This was a test. She was seeing if I'd fold. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out the business card paper-clipped to the legal documents. Jacob Klein, attorney at law. I called the number. He answered on the second ring. Mr. Harrison, I've been expecting your call. I'm very sorry for your loss. Richard was a good man. You knew he died. I've been monitoring the situation. Richard left specific instructions. When are you available to meet? Today, now. Come to my office. I'll clear my schedule. Klein's office was downtown, small but professional. Just him and a paralegal. He was maybe 60, gray hair, expensive suit, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. We sat in his conference room, and he got straight to it. How much do you know about your ownership position? Just what was in the envelope. I need you to tell me if this is legitimate. Klein smiled, small, knowing. It's absolutely legitimate. I structured it myself 5 years ago. Richard was very specific about his concerns. He wanted protection for the company and for you. This arrangement accomplishes both. So I actually own 65% of Lawson Manufacturing. Through Harrison Strategic Holdings, yes. You're the sole owner and operator of that entity, which makes you the majority shareholder. You have complete control. You can call emergency board meetings. You can remove executives. You can make any operational decision you want. I sat back, trying to process it. Why didn't Richard just put this in his will? Because wills are public. They can be challenged. Family members can contest them. This way, your ownership was established years ago through legitimate business transactions. It's unassailable. Your wife can't claim it was a deathbed decision, can't argue diminished capacity, can't challenge it in probate court. She doesn't know about any of this. Correct. Richard specifically requested the arrangement remain confidential unless and until you chose to activate it. Has something happened that makes you want to formalize your position? I told him about the firing, the cold language, the security escort, the public humiliation, the text about the house. Klein took notes, nodded occasionally. When I finished, he leaned back. She's making a mistake, a catastrophic one. She thinks she has power. She doesn't. You do. The question is what you want to do with it. What are my options? You can reveal your ownership immediately, assume control, remove her as CEO, or you can wait. Watch what she does. Build a case. Then make your move when it's most strategic. I thought about Richard, the way he operated. Patient, calculated, never impulsive. I want to wait. Let her show her hand. Document everything. Then, when I move, it's decisive. Klein nodded approvingly. Smart. I'd recommend we schedule an emergency board meeting for next week. Monday morning, 9 a.m. That gives us time to prepare properly and gives her enough rope to hang herself. Can we do that? Just call a board meeting? As majority shareholder, you can call one whenever you want. I'll send formal notices to all board members tomorrow. They're required to attend. She's going to lose her mind when she gets that notice. Yes, Klein said. She will. Which is why we'll make it very official, very legal, impossible to ignore or dismiss. This is going to be interesting, Mr. Harrison. I left his office feeling strange. 4 hours ago, I'd been unemployed, kicked out of the company I'd helped build. Now I owned it, controlled it, had the power to undo everything she'd just done. I drove home and sat in my driveway again, looking at the house. My house. The one she was demanding I vacate. My phone buzzed. Another text from her. "Did you hear me? You need to leave. Don't make this difficult." I typed back one word. "No." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, then stopped. No response came. Over the next week, I watched from a distance. Former colleagues kept me updated. People who were confused and angry about what happened. Angela from accounting called Tuesday evening. "Nathan, what the hell happened? Nobody understands why you're gone. What else is happening there?" She fired 3 department heads yesterday, brought in her own people. None of them know manufacturing. And there's this consultant, guy named Camden, follows her around, taking notes. Young, expensive suit, drives a Porsche. Doesn't talk to anyone on the floor, just has private meetings with her. Wednesday, Elijah from operations texted, "Dude, she's spending money like crazy. Had the entire executive floor renovated. New furniture, new carpet, everything. Must have cost $200,000. And she bought herself a Range Rover, put it on the company lease." Thursday, Melissa from HR called, nearly crying. "She's making me process terminations for people who've been here 15 years. Good people, loyal people. She's hiring replacements at half the salary. This isn't what Richard would have wanted." "Document everything," I told her. "Keep copies of all termination paperwork, all hiring decisions, everything." "Why? Are you planning something?" "Just do it, Melissa. Trust me." Friday afternoon, my wife showed up at the house. Didn't knock, used her key, walked right in. I was sitting in the living room, reading through more of Richard's documents. "You're still here," she said. Angry, impatient. "I live here." "Not anymore. I told you to leave." I looked up from my papers. "This house belonged to my mother. She left it to me. You have no claim to it. You know that. Everything you have is because of my father. This marriage, your job, all of it." Interesting perspective. She walked closer, stood over me. "Sign the separation agreement. Move out. Make this easy." "Or what?" "Or I'll make your life very difficult. I have lawyers, resources. You have nothing." I smiled. Couldn't help it. The irony was too perfect. "What's funny?" she demanded. "Nothing. Just thinking about something your father told me once." "What?" "He said, never underestimate people, even when you think you have all the power, especially then." She stared at me, trying to read my expression. "You're pathetic. Sitting here in this house, clinging to the past. My father felt sorry for you. That's the only reason he kept you around." "Is that what you think?" "It's what I know. He told me you were competent but limited. Good at taking orders, bad at making decisions. That's why he never promoted you higher." I nodded slowly. "What else did he tell you?" "That the company needed fresh leadership, vision, someone willing to make bold moves. He was preparing me to take over for years." "Really?" "Because he and I had lunch every Tuesday for 7 years. Never mentioned that." Her face flushed. "Those lunches were about operations, day-to-day details. He talked to me about strategy, the big picture." "Okay. Don't patronize me. I'm CEO now. I'm in charge. And you're nothing." I went back to reading my documents. Didn't respond. "I want you out by Sunday," she said. "If you're still here Monday, I'm changing the locks." "You can't change the locks on a house you don't own. That's illegal." Watch me." She left, slammed the door, tires squealing as she pulled out. I texted Klein. "She just threatened to change the locks on my house." He called back immediately. "Monday still works better. Gives us the weekend to finalize everything. Also gives her more time to make mistakes. Has she done anything particularly egregious yet? Fired 3 department heads. Massive spending on renovations. Company car for herself. Hiring a consultant who seems useless. Good. Let her keep going. The board will see a pattern. Makes our case stronger." Saturday morning, Justin from production called. "Nathan, you need to know something. She's meeting with executives from Summit Industries. They're interested in buying our automotive parts division." "What?" "That division generates 40% of our revenue." "I know. But apparently they offered her a significant finder's fee. Personal compensation if the sale goes through. I was setting up the conference room for their meeting, heard them talking before they realized I was there. A finder's fee. Personal compensation for selling company assets. That crossed a line. Thanks, Justin. Don't mention this to anyone else." I called Klein again. "We need to stop her from selling the automotive division. She can't sell anything without board approval. Let her present it at the meeting. Let the board see what she's trying to do. Then you shut it down. Maximum impact." Sunday evening, my wife sent one final text. "Last chance, leave tonight or face the consequences." I didn't respond. Monday morning, I woke at 6, showered, put on my best suit, the charcoal one Richard had complimented once. "You look like a CEO in that," he'd said. I met Klein in the parking lot at 8:30. He had 2 other attorneys with him. "Ready?" he asked. "Absolutely." We walked into the building together. The receptionist recognized me, looked confused. "Mr. Harrison, you're not supposed to be—" "Board meeting," I said, and kept walking. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Board members were arriving. 6 of them. People who'd worked with Richard for decades. They nodded at me, surprised but too polite to ask questions. My wife arrived at 8:55, saw me sitting at the conference table, froze. "What are you doing here?" Klein stood. "Mrs. Lawson, I'm Jacob Klein, representing Mr. Harrison. He has every right to be at this meeting. In fact, he called it. He can't call board meetings. He's not even employed here anymore. Actually, as majority shareholder, he can call meetings whenever he wants. Shall we begin?" The room went silent. Every board member stared. Her face turned red. "This is absurd. Someone call security." Gerald McConnell, the longest-serving board member and Richard's first business partner, spoke calmly. "Let's hear what this is about." Klein distributed folders around the table. Documentation of my ownership position, partnership agreements, corporate filings, share certificates. "Gentlemen, what you're looking at is documentation of Mr. Harrison's ownership position in Lawson Manufacturing. Through Harrison Strategic Holdings, he owns 65% of this company." The board members started reading, flipping pages, checking signatures and dates. My wife grabbed a copy, scanned it, laughed. "This is fake. Some kind of fraud." "It's not fake," Klein said. "Every document has been verified, notarized, filed appropriately. Richard Lawson established this structure 5 years ago. My father would never give controlling interest to him, never." Gerald looked up. "These signatures are authentic. I recognize Richard's handwriting. These corporate filings are dated and stamped. This appears legitimate." "It's not possible," she said, voice rising. "I'm CEO. The board appointed me." The board appointed you as interim CEO because they didn't know about my ownership, I said. Now they do. She turned to the other board members. You can't seriously believe this. He's trying to steal the company. Klein remained calm. Nobody's stealing anything. Mr. Harrison is simply formalizing his legal position, a position your father created and documented extensively. Ava Dunn, a corporate attorney on the board, spoke up. I've reviewed these documents. They're legitimate. The ownership structure is valid. Mr. Harrison does have majority control. My wife slammed her hands on the table. This is a setup, a con. You're all falling for it. Gerald spoke quietly. Your father and I talked about succession planning many times. He had concerns about impulsive decisions, about protecting the company's culture. I didn't know the specifics of what he'd arranged, but this doesn't surprise me. Concerns about me? About anyone taking over too quickly. Richard built this company over 30 years. He wanted to make sure it stayed true to his vision. She looked around the table, desperate now. So what? You're just going to hand everything to him? Just like that? Nobody's handing me anything, I said. I already own it. Have for 5 years. Your father made sure of that. You manipulated him. Took advantage of an old man. Klein cleared his throat. Mrs. Lawson, these documents were created when your father was 58 years old, in perfect health, with full mental capacity. Multiple attorneys witnessed and verified his decisions. There's no legal basis for challenging this. She stared at me, pure hatred in her eyes. You planned this, waited for him to die so you could take everything. I didn't know about this until last week. Your father never told me. I found the documents after you fired me. Convenient. It's the truth. Gerald leaned forward. What envelope? I pulled out Richard's handwritten letter, slid it across the table. Gerald read it. His expression softened. He nodded slowly, passed it to the other board members. Each one read it. Some looked uncomfortable, others seemed relieved. My wife tried to grab it. Ava held it away. You should read this. It's from your father. She snatched the letter, read it. Her hand started shaking. He didn't trust me, his own daughter. He loved you, Gerald said gently. But he knew your strengths and weaknesses, just like he knew all of ours. This isn't fair. Fair doesn't matter, I said. Legal matters, and this is completely legal. Klein distributed another set of papers, an itemized list of everything she'd done in the past week. The terminations, the excessive spending, the consultant, the Range Rover, the proposed sale of the automotive division. The board members read through it, expressions ranging from surprised to angry. You were planning to sell automotive? Gerald asked. It was a good offer. Summit Industries was willing to pay premium value. That division is 40% of our revenue. We could use that capital for expansion. What expansion? She didn't answer. Ava flipped to another page. There's a note here about personal compensation, a finder's fee. Standard practice in these transactions. How much? Gerald asked. She hesitated. $2 million. The room erupted. Board members talking over each other. Gerald raised his hand for silence. You are going to take $2 million personally for selling off 40% of our business? It's normal. Executives get compensated for major deals. Not when they don't own the company, I said. I do, which means that finder's fee would be paid with my money for a sale I didn't approve, selling assets I own. Her mouth opened, closed. No response came. Klein stood. Gentlemen, given these circumstances, I move that we address the executive leadership of this company. Mr. Harrison, as majority shareholder, has the authority to make personnel decisions, including the removal of the current CEO. You can't do this, my wife said, voice cracking now. Panic setting in. I stood, looked directly at her. 2 weeks ago, you fired me without explanation, escorted me out by security, treated me like a criminal. You told me I had performance issues, that I was being eliminated due to restructuring. Nathan, now I'm restructuring. Effective immediately, you're removed as CEO of Lawson Manufacturing. You'll receive 2 weeks severance, more than generous considering your performance issues. She stared at me, speechless. Security will escort you out, I continued. Please collect your personal belongings. Your company access will be terminated within the hour. You can't be serious. I pressed the intercom button. Security, please come to the boardroom. Nathan, wait. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. This is a business decision. Nothing personal. Her own words thrown back at her, in front of the entire board. 2 security guards entered, the same ones who'd escorted me out. Mrs. Lawson, one of them said quietly, please come with us. She looked around the table, desperate. Someone say something. This is insane. Gerald spoke softly. Your father made his choice. We have to respect it. She grabbed her purse, stood, looked at me one last time. You'll regret this. No, I said. I won't. They walked her out. The door closed. Silence filled the room. After a moment, Gerald smiled. Small, sad. Richard knew exactly what he was doing. Yes, I said. He did. The board meeting continued for another 2 hours. We reversed every decision she'd made, canceled the terminations, called back the department heads, canceled the renovations, terminated the consultant's contract, returned the Range Rover. Gerald recommended I appoint an interim COO while I transitioned into the CEO role. I promoted Melissa from HR. She'd been with the company 12 years, knew every department, understood Richard's philosophy. By noon, the transition was complete, documented, official. I moved into Richard's office that afternoon. The abstract painting was already gone, replaced with the original photo of Richard and his first employee. Melissa had made sure of it. Thought you'd want this back, she said. Thank you. Over the next week, I focused on stabilizing the company, called back the 3 department heads. All of them returned. I met with every team, told them the truth. Richard had left me controlling interest. Things would return to how they were. The employees responded immediately. Morale improved. People started smiling again. The tension vanished. My wife tried calling, texting, emailing. I didn't respond. Klein handled all communication. She wanted to negotiate, wanted a settlement. She had no share. She'd never owned any part of Lawson Manufacturing. Richard had left her money, investments, real estate. But not the business. Never the business. Klein met with her attorneys. They tried to argue the marriage entitled her to half. Klein showed them the prenuptial agreement Richard had insisted on before the wedding. Very specific language about business ownership remaining separate. Her attorneys had no case. They advised her to accept Klein's settlement offer. $50,000. Final. Non-negotiable. She refused at first. Threatened court. Klein told her attorneys exactly how it would play out. Public records showing her mismanagement. Her attempt to sell company assets for personal profit. Her excessive spending. She signed 3 days later, The divorce papers came next. I signed them without reading. Didn't care about the details. She could have the furniture, the art, whatever she wanted. I had what mattered. 2 weeks after the board meeting, I was working late, going through Richard's files. There was a knock on my office door. Gerald walked in. "Got a minute?" "Of course." He sat down, looked around the office. "Feels right seeing you here." Strange for me. I keep expecting Richard to walk in. He'd be proud, the way you handled this. I just did what needed to be done. "Gerald," it was quiet for a moment. "I need to tell you something about Richard's planning. He talked to me about you 3 years ago, asked my opinion about his succession plan. He was considering making you president, grooming you to take over eventually." "What changed?" "His daughter found out, had a massive argument with him, accused him of choosing you over her, threatened to never speak to him again if he promoted you above her." I sat back. "He never mentioned that." "He wouldn't. Richard didn't like conflict with family, so he backed off the promotion. But he didn't stop planning. He just did it differently, quietly, legally, in a way she couldn't fight." "The silent partnership." "Exactly. He told me about it 6 months before he died. Said if anything happened to him, I should support you. Make sure the board understood." "You knew this whole time." "I knew he'd protected you somehow. Didn't know the specifics until that meeting. But yes, I knew his intentions." "Why didn't you say anything when she became CEO?" "Because Richard's instructions were clear. Let events unfold naturally. Don't interfere unless you were directly threatened. Once she fired you, that was the trigger. That's when I knew you'd find the envelope." I shook my head. "He thought of everything." That was Richard, always 3 steps ahead. He knew his daughter, knew her weaknesses, knew she'd overreach if given power too quickly. He was counting on it. That's cold. That's practical. He loved her, but he loved this company more. The people who work here, the legacy he built. He wasn't going to let anyone destroy it, not even family. Gerald stood, extended his hand. "Welcome aboard, Mr. CEO, officially." I shook his hand. "Thank you for everything." "Don't thank me. Thank Richard. He set this all up. I just followed his playbook." After Gerald left, I sat alone in the office. Looked at the photo on the wall. Richard and his first employee. Both young, proud, building something that would last. My phone buzzed. Text from Klein. "Divorce finalized. She signed everything. It's done." I typed back, "Good." Another text came through from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it. "You won. Congratulations. I hope you're happy with yourself." My wife. From a new number. I deleted the message, blocked the number, went back to work. There was too much to do. The automotive division needed attention. 3 major contracts were coming up for renewal. Production efficiency needed improvement in 2 departments. But it was good work, important work, the kind Richard had trained me for. I worked until midnight, then locked the office, walked through the quiet building, past the production floor. Dark now, ready for tomorrow's shift. This was mine now, my responsibility, my legacy to protect. And I wasn't going to let Richard down. 3 months passed. Lawson Manufacturing was thriving. We'd secured 2 major contracts. Production efficiency improved by 18%. Employee satisfaction scores reached the highest level in company history. I stood in Richard's office on a Friday afternoon. The same office where he'd built his empire. where he taught me everything about leadership and business. Melissa knocked on the door. "You wanted the quarterly reports?" "Yes, come in." She handed me the folder. "Revenue is up 12%. Profit margins improved. We're ahead of projections across every division." "Good. What about automotive?" "Performing better than ever. Glad we didn't sell it." I smiled. "Yeah, that would have been a mistake." After Melissa left, I walked to the window, looked out at the production floor below. Workers moving efficiently, equipment running smoothly, everything operating exactly as Richard had envisioned. My phone buzzed. Email from Gerald. He was retiring from the board, recommending his replacement, thanking me for honoring Richard's legacy. I replied with gratitude. Gerald had been crucial during the transition, a steady hand when everything could have fallen apart. Another email appeared. From my attorney. Final divorce paperwork complete. No ties remaining. Clean break. I closed my laptop, walked over to the wall where Richard's photo hung. That old picture of him and his first employee, both young and determined. "I'm keeping my promise," I said quietly. "Protecting what you built, taking care of the people, maintaining the standards." I could almost hear his voice, that gruff laugh he'd make when I said something he agreed with. The company was stable, growing, profitable. Everything Richard had worked 30 years to create was safe. I sat down at the desk, pulled out the strategic planning documents for next quarter. There was work to do, always work to do. But it was meaningful work, important work. And I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Richard had seen something in me 7 years ago. Potential, leadership, someone who would protect his legacy when he couldn't. He'd been right. I picked up my pen and started writing notes for Monday's executive meeting. The future of Lawson Manufacturing was secure, and I was just getting started. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.